All right, dealing with a fancy Mercedes. It's a 2001 C240. I rarely work on these because I don't really work on a lot of quote unquote high end vehicles. But this just new customer. Let's just see what happens. All right, because you know how some cars got it out for you when it comes to new customers. This car has a complaint of the lady suspects the neighbor of sabotaging her vehicle. All right, there's a backstory with this, but I'm gonna save that for the latter part of this video after I resolve it. Just to tell you what she told me, she suspected the neighbor of coming in her car, sabotaging it since she got in and tried to work it or shut it on and drive off. It didn't work. It wouldn't want to shift over first gear. Check engine light is on for the cam position sensor and a speed sensor, I want to say. But if I clear the code, the immediate comeback is going to be the cam position sensor. Let me show you that. And it does have an extended crank. So lady suspects neighbor of sabotaging car. Got in it this morning. It did not want to shift out of first, and it has an extended crank. So that's what we're dealing with. So naturally, I started looking for context clues of and type of sabotagement, and I didn't see any. Lady's car is not the cleanest. I'm just gonna be honest with you. And the lady's story of what went on is becoming a lie, just to be honest with you. Lady's crazy. So let me show you what the extended crank sound like, and I want to show you some basic tests up to the point that I am now. We'll see if we can get this vehicle fixed and working appropriately. Well, that strange. It want to work now, but trust me, it had a very extended crank. Let me let it warm up. I'm gonna shut it down, and then I'm gonna start it back up and see what happens. But the car been sitting for about 45 minutes since I left and went to the parts store, and now it wants to start up just fine. So it's definitely dedicated to heat soaking. You know, as a matter of fact, let me look at the oscilloscope. I do have that hooked up. I do want to go over some basic tests of how to test this. But I'm just kind of curious to see what it's working now or not. So I'm on a 200 millisecond per division. I usually like 50 milliseconds. So without knowing how the cam sensor or cam pickup actually look, right now it's producing a signal. Now I'd imagine it's supposed to produce something a lot more significant because the input voltage is 12 volts. And right now it's putting out 5 volts. So let's go to 200 milliseconds. I don't see any like pattern at the moment. Like I'd imagine it'll have a stop. I'd imagine they'll have a pattern to determine where it start back over at. Let me change from time base. It's crazy it want to work now. Because before it just wasn't doing anything. Let's go here. I wonder if that code is still present. Let me let it do its thing. Maybe it'll drop off. So this was the code that was present, P0341 or P201A, camshaft Hall effect sensor, electrical fault. Let me go out. Let me do this. There's a live data function where I could look inside the cam position signal. I gotta find out where it's located, because I was able to see if it was implausible or not. Let me see if I can find it. I went to smooth engine running. I think that's where I went. But why is it that if I pull back, it sends me to another smooth running engine? Let me see here. Going back out. What a fault count. It put me. Let me go back. Let me go back. Let me go here. Test value at idle speed. That's weird, it does that. I'm not gonna ask questions. But currently right now, for the camshaft Hall sensor, it says no signal. So let me go back out to the scan tool. Not the scan tool, but the scope. Okay, the signal's gone. Let me pause it. Hopefully I still got it. Maybe I wind up capturing. There you go. There's a drop off right there. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, I wish I knew how to tell you how to get back in this setting here. Let me go turn the key back on. Signal implausible. That's weird that I have 12 volts and then it's producing the 5-volt square wave. I'd imagine the waveform should be 12 volts or the voltage that's being input. Maybe I've had cam sensors produce half voltage. I had crank sensors do that. So I'm not going to be surprised if it's capable of reading a 5-volt interpretation of the square wave. Clear this code out. Erase codes. Yeah, I've had vehicles, crank sensors fail, producing half voltage, and but it didn't work. I'll turn the key off. All right, yeah, 10 seconds has passed. All right, let me show you this. It should have an extended crank. Oh, it should have. Shut it down. I'll cut it back on. That's weird. There's no check engine light. Let's see if there's any codes present, because the code would immediately come back. This cam sensor is definitely doing something funky. Yeah, it's there. No check engine light though. That's interesting. Maybe sometimes what can happen, you can have like a ghost code and you may have to drive it for it to reset. Let's go back and let's see if I can find that PID for the cam sensor. So no signal present. So it should have an extended crank now. Signal implausible. Key on. Starting up just fine. That's crazy. There you go. So right now it's not producing any signal. Let me turn the key all the way off. Back on. Yeah. All right. So right now it's not producing a signal. So technically I don't have to show the information on the cam sensor. I mean, we saw a value, but the cam, like I said, the cam sensor can be making half the voltage. So we can have good 12 volts, good ground, and half the voltage, half the value of that sensor coming back out, depending on how this operated. But it logically, when I see 12 volts going to the cam position sensor or a sensor just in general, it should be producing that same value coming back out. So what I'm going to do is very simple to check the cam position sensor with the oscilloscope. We're going to check for power, we're going to check for ground, and we are hooked up on the signal side, so we know it's capable of producing a signal. We saw the drop off, so it's no point of checking that, but we are definitely going to check the new sensor and see what the value is supposed to be in comparison to the old one. The cam sensor on this vehicle is going to be located on the passenger side right here at the front of the engine. She do have really bad oil leaks. This cam sensor is very old, and I'm not going to lie, I did break the retainer, the lock on it, trying to get it off. This car's 20 years old, so I'll try to be as fragile as I can. Now, I did take the collar off that protect the wiring harness. There's like a sleeve that go over the back of it. Pull that off. Here we have our female pins. The signal is going to be in the middle. The outside is going to be the power or either the ground. Now, what you can do if you got a test meter, simple, hook up on the power and ground with the key on, see what the value is. I'm going to do that just for the sake of simplicity. So all I'm going to do, take my leads here, check the outside pins, and I have 12 volts. So this lead with the red, I'm hooked up properly, because if it was wrong, it'll be negative. It'll go negative. So it's hooked up backwards. So I'm making good voltage. 12 volts. Positive here where the red is, ground is on the left hand side. So we're making good voltage. So I'd imagine I will have a nice 12 volt square wave, I'd imagine, but that's not the case. So what I'm gonna do, we're just gonna simply replace it. Pull that old cam sensor out, throw a new one in there. I do have a new one. If y'all know, I frequently patronize O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and they wind up having a Bosch in stock. So let me show you that. Here's the Bosch part. Here's the cam sensor. I want to say maybe that on that barcode, one of these is the part number. It had like a 114 or something. Yep, that's the part number right there. So that long 232 number, because I remember the 114. So here's a new one. And again, I expect it to produce a 12 volt square wave. So, but we're gonna find out, because I'm not the smartest guy in the world. Pull this off. I got a E8. This is an inverted socket. Oh gosh. So I'm hoping that this, because of how integral the cam position sensor is, that this is what's causing the influence for the transmission to not properly shift. I'm hoping. It wouldn't surprise me, because depending on the protocol, I mean, in the influence of this component, it can have some problems. Now, I did, truth be told, I pulled this out, inspected it, and cleaned it off. So I kind of did a preliminary check already. As you can tell, so let's see what these look like together. This Bosch is definitely aftermarket. All right. Ideally, you want to put some oil on it before you put it in there, but I'm going in dry. There we go. I did clean, like I said, I did clean the area off also, because there was a lot of oil on there. I could pan the camera over to the driver's side valve cover and show you how dirty it was. But I did take some brake cleaner and compressed air. that. So we'll hook this right back up. Alright, cool. Alright, I'm gonna clear the code out. I'm gonna take a screenshot of this one, this old one, because it was making 4 volts. I'm gonna start my scope again, and then I'm gonna start it up. Okay, so it's producing 5 volts. Let me show you. So with the new one plugged in, it's actually producing about 5 volts. So this is a drop off. It's a ground side switch, I want to say, unless it's just coming in contact with the rotor. I'm sorry, here we go. Unless it's coming in contact with the pickup and it's actually producing the contact. So let me start it up. Start it right on up. Get the glare off the screen. Zoom in on this one. Look how good and uniform that is in comparison to the other one. Let's take a screenshot of this. Let's go back. Let's go back. Uh-oh. Let's go to the gallery. Let me get the glare off. Here's the old one. And here's the new one. So in all fairness, I probably wasn't like zoomed in that well in the old one. Just to be fair. Let's go back. Let's change our time base. I did not mean to do that. There's probably like a ground side switch on this. It wouldn't surprise me if that is. Cool. I thought it would probably have like a strategic, like some type of pattern or something, but it seemed like this one doesn't. So you'll know, when it starts back over again. Seems like it run a little better. Let me shut it down and cut it, start it back up, see how it starts up. Start it back up. Oh yeah, it starts up great. Where's my let's see if we can find that same PID. As a matter of fact, let's go back and then clear the code out and see if the code come back immediately. It seems like it runs a little better. Let me clear that code out. Sometimes what I may have to do is go to the generic portion if this code is still present in the system, and see if that code is still present, because some tools, it'll just show you a code stored in the history and it's literally not there. It's a false positive. I think that's the correct terminology for it. All right, let's see if it'll start up. Oh, it starts right on up. All right, let's see if we can find that PID again. And then we'll go back and check. Maybe check additional actual values, individual. No. Let me see if it's in here. No. Let me go back to the same PID, like the same way, even though I don't know how I got to that one. Let's see, and I backed out and I went to test values at idle. And yep, so signal's okay. Let me shut it down. Signal's implausible. Keys in on. Signal's implausible. Why does it say signal's implausible? Okay, signal's okay. Cool. All right, so I think we're fine with that. Let's go back to check engine light. Let's go to see if there's any code stored. And if not, I'm gonna take it on a test drive and see if this issue is resolved. Nope. All right, cool. Got that fixed. Let me take it on test drive, and I'm gonna give you the feedback as far if it's fixed or not, if it starts shifting into the gears appropriately. Now I think it should shift properly because of the influence the cam position have on just driving parameters. So if the car is probably like a fail safe to prevent the car from potentially damaging itself because of how integral that cam position sensor is for enrichments and timing. So give me a minute and I'll be right back. Gosh. All right. I'm gonna be straight up with you. It shifted and then it stopped. I pulled over, cleared the codes, and then it started shifting fine. And then it had a moment where it hesitated to downshift, got stuck trying to downshift, and then I was able to pull off, came to a stop, drove it again, and it got hung up and then went to a neutral state, down to first gear, and it stayed there. So let me check the condition of the fluid. It feel like the fluid maybe have like coagulated or something, or was old, and the filter is probably clogged up and it can't transition like it's supposed to. There's two dipsticks back here if I recall properly. Hold on, don't hold me on that. Yeah, I'm wrong. I can't check transmission fluid because now I have to go under the car and check it. Dang it. This is like, why don't they put dipsticks on these things? There's certain models with dipsticks, but this one doesn't have it. Dang it. Shikes. I swear there are certain models with dipsticks. Anyway, the main thing I need to fix, well, is fixed. I mean, it had an extended crank. Not really is not fixed because she did complain about it being stuck in first gear. But they both, from what she described, came in all at the same time. So I think we're honestly dealing with two different issues. And like I said, this lady is kind of crazy. So crazy in the sense of fabricating things and very conspiratorial. Since I'm done with this issue and I got to figure out the other part. Let me just tell you what I had a conversation with her for 30 minutes and just let her talk, and I just sat there and listened. And I kind of believe that, maybe she did have a neighbor try to break into her car and try to sabotage some things. But when she starts talking about Chinese people stealing things, immigrants stealing things. Now, there's just some things that are statistically are going to have to follow suit with logic. Now, let me give you an example. I ain't gonna lie. We do steal a lot of stuff. We are very destructive in certain communities. Now, I will say though, and I gotta be truthful with myself. Black folk can happen to, we can be pretty destructive in communities. Now, taking that into consideration, I understand that. Now, when she starts talking about Chinese people, like being on her roof, stealing her flowers, Chinese people steal from each other. They don't venture outside their ethnicity and start committing crimes. All right? Take that how you want it. She said people on her roof, they're very skilled and they're covered her cameras up so she can't identify them. She caught somebody trying to steal gas and she had to call the police on them, and somebody got arrested, but they were let out. This is what put the icing on the cake, okay? She said that besides people stealing her flowers, somebody was in her shower. So she ran outside, screamed, and called the cops. And when she went back in, they ran out the back door. Okay. The other thing is the Chinese people go into her house and they steal things based on their culture. The Chinese people will steal like beans. Chinese people will steal rice. And Indians, allegedly, they like ham. I'm like, all right. That's why I'm very social, and I don't mind having conversation with my customers. Let them get out what they got to get out, but because I gotta I have to validate the truth factor with them. Okay. And yeah, she don't stay in the most neglected areas, and it's not ghetto where she stay at. And so I just highly doubt some of these petty crimes are just going to be isolated to her. And mind you, she's 70 something years old. So, I mean, if her car interior is in dysfunction, then I imagine her mind is in cognitive decline, and there's some type of dysfunction, you know. So the only thing I can do is listen, and because I got to put the truth factor with the context clues of what I'm trying to resolve here. So, I think so I say it to say, the lady's crazy, and we're dealing with two different problems. I don't think she was 100% truthful with me, and which is fine. I got one thing fixed. It's just probably going to need some other maintenance. No big deal. I feel like I'm gonna get off the camera because I feel like I'm gonna start venting about working on cars and people and stuff. So I'm gonna leave it at that. We looked at the check engine light. We looked at the oscilloscope for the cam position sensor. The cam sensor was failing. We literally saw it falling off. We checked the voltage. We checked the ground and signal and voltage. Well, yeah, ground, voltage, and signal. We saw that and learned something new. I suspect it because it's 12 volts. It should be producing a 12-volt square wave. It did not. It produced like a 5-volt square wave despite producing 12 volts. Interesting. So now I just got to figure out why this ain't shifting properly, and I'm going to check the mileage and see if maybe it just needs a fluid service, which I really think that's what it is. It just need a fluid filter kit. Let me just explain why I think it need that. Is because it has a harsh engagement, meaning that it engages confidently and it grasps. There's no slipping condition. There's just transitional issues. If you watch some of my older videos, like with the Hondas, if you can have judder or some issues transitioning if the fluid becomes old and contaminated with clutch material, or just worn out, depending on how tight that range is when it transitions. There needs to be some slippage before the other clutch pack engage. And I think that's what we got going on here. So that's why I'm thinking like we just need to do a transmission fluid and filter. But I digress. If anything happened, I'll definitely update. But hit that link, subscribe to the channel, stay informed, had to reach some work, and I'll see you on the next one.